yeah, for me, the like talking and dialogue and trying to understand and trying to get the people to change their minds is like so very over, like so done with certain folks, meaning anybody in the MAGA cult. I have nothing to speak for them about. I'm not going to try and convince them of anything. I don't, those days are over. They don't want to listen. They're not going to change their mind. They're willing to cover up murders that happen on camera. They're willing to cover for an elite group of pedophiles. There's nothing to talk about anymore with 30% of the adult population in the United States.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an illustration of that. Why I agree with that um, to a certain extent. Uh, if someone reaches out to me and wants to have what I think is a legitimate conversation around things, I'm willing to meet with them. But here's the thing that Mom and I learned by living in Jerusalem, and you know this after 10 years of working with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. There is nothing you can say that will shame Jewish Israelis.
Correct.
They don't care what you think
Correct.
of them. They don't care what the world thinks of them.
Mhm.
They don't care what history writes about them. And I'm not saying that from my point of view in being with them. This is what they have said to me and to Sally, to Mom, time and time again. The world has always hated us and always will. So we're going to do what we need to do to protect ourselves while we have the opportunity. And and their prime minister at the time we were there, Ehud, he said, look, we don't care what the world says about us.
Mhm.
And at the same time, when I was there, I was in conversation with a high school friend. In fact, this was a guy who lived across the street from me growing up. Um, and he has since passed away. And he was an engineer, very bright guy, engineer at one of the big uh, defense contracting. I don't remember which one, Lockheed or something like that. And he considered himself a libertarian. And when we lived in Jerusalem and we had email back then, and he would email me all the time, and this is what he would say. I will quote him. I don't care what the world thinks of us. We need to do what's good for us.
Mhm.
I don't care what the rest of the world thinks of us.
Yeah, that's our current government.
That's our current government, but that's also,
and and democratically elected current government.
I know, and the people who elected him, I'm saying is that the people who elected him, they don't care what you think. They don't care what I think. I'm now saying to pastors, you need to think about the choir. Who's in the choir? Not just pastors, but anybody. Who's in the choir? Because we got to start preaching to the choir. We got to supporting and upholding people who are speaking up and standing up. We need to support them financially.
Mhm.
We need to support them with encouragement because they're going to get the crack kicked out of them by the
Are
gate.
they?
Well, the
I mean,
gatekeepers,
are they?
they are. I've been
I
there.
mean, I don't. Yeah, big deal. Big
Well,
deal.
it is a big deal. If you're a pastor in a church, you know how dangerous the gatekeepers are.
Yeah, but why are we? I'm not afraid of them.
No,
That's the difference. I'm not afraid of any of those people. I don't
uh,
care what they
uh,
think
uh,
or what they
they
do.
took they drove me out of a church, Josh. That's how powerful they are. They drove me out.
That's how pathetic they are.
I know, but it doesn't change the fact that they have the power to do that, and pastors know that. And
And
yes, I agree with you. I agree. I think Rome is burning. And it's time for pastors and college professors and seminary professors to stop talking about um,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I
and to start talking, finding ways to speak into what's happening right in front of us right now, because otherwise they're going to get to retirement someday and they're going to realize they missed their shot. Like a
Yeah.
lot of us are saying about certain issues. We missed our shot.
Yeah.
LGBT,
I
Josh, I missed my shot.
I don't have words anymore, really. I have some, but it's time for action. It's time for action. So I don't I don't have confidence that like Southwest Michigan is going to rise up against the federal government or that enough Christians are going to rise up against the federal government or enough pastors are going to speak out or enough. I don't have any confidence of any of that anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think they will. I think most of them won't. I think if they've gotten to this point and still haven't spoken up,
Yeah.
what like we need to look seriously and
Yeah.
be honest about what's going to happen, which is not much.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to work at any of that stuff. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to work at trying to get pastors and professors and da 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 da. They're gone. That's all gone for me.
Yeah.
As like a strategy or as like something I could pin any faith on or any hope in, that's gone for me. I would love it if more people stepped up. I have no faith that we'll vote our way out of it. I have no faith in that whatsoever. I think we should continue voting. We should continue putting up candidates. But the problems are so much deeper than that. You know, the majority of Christians went to church today, didn't think about what was happening in the country, didn't talk about it, and sang beautiful praise songs to their Savior. And I can't really stomach that anymore.
Yeah.
It makes me ill.
Yeah. It's
Like
hard.
the contempt that I have for the church right now and for Christianity. I have contempt for it. I don't have any positive thoughts about it currently. I think Jesus was a good person. Um, I think he had a lot of wise teachings. I think you could build a Christianity that was beautiful and good. But for 2,000 years, nobody's been able to pull that off, basically. I mean, there's a sense in which what we're seeing in Israel and what we're seeing in the United States is like the perfect encapsulation of what Judeo Christian values have become. It's racist, it's supremacist, it's happy to use violence, it doesn't care about anybody else but itself. It's awful.
Yeah.
It has become awful. And I don't know what the value in being associated with it is anymore, except to lend credence to this terrible thing, this terrible ideology, which is tearing apart the world and our country.
Yeah. I'm not exactly where you are in terms of, I mean, I still see segments of the Christian community who are speaking out and who are trying. I listened to a sermon this morning by your cousin, Aaron. He was spot on. He didn't shy away from any of it. And he did just really an excellent job of, and he talked about, the meek shall inherit the earth. And he said, that how does that work? But he also pointed out that some of what's happening in Minneapolis, for example, is the power of meekness, the power to resist when you have no power. You don't have a gun. I mean, these pastors or faith tradition, they weren't all pastors. In fact, there were a couple of atheists who were a part of that group who kneeled at the Minneapolis airport and were arrested.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I want to ally with anybody who wants to accomplish the same goals as me, which is to challenge what's happening right now before our face and to somehow continually find ways to resist that. So, pastors who are trying, who are speaking out, kudos. And you are my ally, I'm your ally. I'm not against you. Um, but absolutely, the damage that Christianity has done in this country, religion really, but Christianity is the primary religion in the world for a long time, and
Hmm.
in this country during my lifetime is inexcusable and irreparable, probably. And I have to say, I mean, your uncle Tony and I, both pastors for years, preachers for years, we're just dumbfounded that after preaching thousands of sermons, literally,
Hmm.
in the case of Tony, to the same people over
Yeah.
30 years, and to have those people that he preached to for all those years, and he would say this, support Donald Trump unconditionally, is
Hmm.
painful. And it makes us wonder, what did we miss? What did I miss? What happened? Has this
Yeah.
always been the church? Has this always been us?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe so. It is
Yes.
disappointing to say the least. And I think I'm at the point of saying, I just, who are my allies? Who's with me? I agree with, what's the name of the young woman we're bringing?
Britt Hartley.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Hmm.
And, she said, look, it's time to take your mask off,
Hmm.
speak your truth, and see who's with you.
That's right.
That's where I'm at. Who's my allies? Who's with me? And I'm finding there are lots of people who are with me. And
Hmm.
those are the ones I'm going to walk the path with. The same thing when we lived in Jerusalem. I mean, our best friends in Jerusalem were atheists.
Yeah.
It,
I mean, if
it
you
was,
look at, yeah, I mean, this is, if you
but
look, go look at the polling. You're going to find yourself agreeing with atheists in every poll on every social issue.
they were
Period.
brave. They were, and we got criticized. I got criticized often for quoting them. One of the worst criticisms I got was a blog post I wrote praising Jordan's King. For when he spoke to Congress, he was eloquent and he nailed it. He was so perfect. And I said that was the best, most Christ-like message I ever heard. I got hammered
Dad,
for
we've
saying that a
spent,
Muslim.
think about it. We've spent 20 years
Yeah,
getting lectured and lied about and bullshitted about by Christians. That's been our overwhelming experience over the last 20 years, fighting with Christians for them to be decent and good and to understand reality. And they won't do it.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean, you think of it. Tell me about the atheist that really has been giving you a hard time throughout your life. You can't think, all you can think of is all the best people you know.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you just,
I know
and
it's
it's like,
difficult.
I'm really sorry that this is the case. I'm really sorry for people who are pastors and have to come to the realization that they're a part of something destructive and something that is probably fake, probably mostly untrue. And in fact, the more we've been willing to admit that fact, that's the only way that religion has improved is by admitting like, I mean, we didn't get rid of slavery because of the Bible. We didn't give women rights because of the Bible. We didn't do the Civil Rights Act because, I mean, it goes on and on. You cannot think of a single social issue where the church led and you were impressed. You can just think like, oh, a couple people came along for the ride on this social issue. Oh, a couple. I mean, we got what, one, two, three white pastors anybody can even name that were part of the civil rights movement?
Yeah.
How many can you name? I can name Jim Reeb and I can name Abraham Joshua Heschel from the Jewish community. They're- we're not for these things.
Yeah,
Christians are not for these things.
right.
They
I
have
hear
to
you.
be convinced constantly to go essentially against what the Bible says so that they do the just thing.
Right.
And it's like, I'm so tired of that. I'm not
I,
doing it anymore.
I know you are. I am too. I'm with you on that. I just don't want to. Um, I want those that are out there like Aaron, like Jeff Peterson, Nate DeWard, Julie uh, Mantel. I mean, there are so many who are trying so hard, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
You're
There are
with
not very many. That's the problem. There are not so
ones
many.
who are. I'm not
There
going to
are a
throw,
few.
yeah, but
There
I'm not
are
going
a
to throw
few.
them all under the bus. There are those who are trying.
My challenge to those people is this: do you really believe in this magical thinking? Do you really? Because you've given up on the magical thinking that says Genesis is true. Certainly, you've given up on the idea that Genesis 1 through 11 is true. You don't think there was an Adam and Eve and an apple. That isn't how humanity started. There wasn't a worldwide flood. There, Cain and Abel. Like, it goes on and on. I mean, at some point, the amount of things you had to give up as true about the Bible is like bigger than the amount you're keeping. And rightfully so. There isn't much left to keep. I mean, what is there? Really? Like if you give up on magical thinking, for example, you you don't believe that Jesus was a miracle worker because you don't believe in miracles. And you don't believe Jesus rose from the dead because you don't believe in that kind of magical thinking. And you don't believe some special things happening when you take the Lord's Supper, which once you step back from it sounds pretty weird. Let's metaphorically, or in the case of the Roman Catholic Church, let's literally drink the blood and eat the flesh of this man who died these many years ago. What? What do you mean? For what? Like, for what purpose? Oh, to reinforce a theology that God will be mad at you, but now he's not because he killed this guy. And so now you drink his blood and eat his flesh, and maybe God won't be mad at you anymore. That's gross and weird. And that's how we think. Most people think of that particular central sacrament of Christianity. And that's a destructively bad idea because it says the myth of redemptive violence is not only real, it's the truest true thing you've ever heard. The best way to solve a problem is to kill an innocent person.
Yeah.
Oh, so much so that we have a whole ritual about it. And we only have two. The other one's just an initiation ritual into the cult called baptism. That one's not weird to me. I kind of get it. But the Lord's Supper is truly bizarre when you step back from it. And then you're like, it's okay that it's bizarre. There's lots of bizarre things and rituals. But then you think about what it is teaching people and you go, oh, it's actually destructive. It's teaching people destructive ideas, attributing those ideas to God. I don't see how that's good anymore.
Yeah. Uh, I'm not going to,
And I know people would hear that and they're going to just be like falling on the floor, like they've never heard anybody probably speak that directly about
yeah.
from the outside, having been on the inside. What does it look like now? Well, maybe it would look better if Christians weren't doing what they're doing in our country and around the world. Maybe I would have more patience to see something better.
Yeah.
I don't have it. And so what I'm seeing is all the places where the inhumanity seeps in
Yeah.
and allows them to have these ideas that allows them to carry out this kind of violence. Because what is it? It's the same thing Israel talks about. What they have is a law and order God.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all they care about. Law and order. Law, it's all you can hear them talk about every time. They love a man with a gun who's a law enforcement officer. He's their hero, or a military guy. In Israel, it's all the IDF are the big heroes. Like it's a militaristic religion built on hierarchy and punishment and authority. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, I think Judaism has actually tried to reform itself
Yeah.
in the United States.
Thank you.
I mean, like there's some very strange Hasidic communities in New York. Very, very strange. Just like the Haredim in Jerusalem. So I mean, like Judaism has weird, weird, weird stuff going on. But the Reform Judaism, and every time it's this way. The version of the religion that has strayed the furthest from its weird roots of 2,000, 3,000 years ago and is now living in the present reality is the one that is the least bad every time.
And the least
The
pop.
least and the least popular every time. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you could say in the United States, Reform Judaism might be the most popular in the United States. It's not the most popular amongst Jews worldwide, which is really just to say Israel and the United States. I think that's where 90, 80% of the Jews in the world live, just in those two places. We also know that the best versions are always the ones that are the most modern and the least like what they were when they first began. The further you get away from that, the better they get.
Yeah, it's hard to defend um, any religion these days.
It is.
Even if you look back over history, religion has been at the root of almost every catastrophic man-made or human event
Mhm.
in history. I mean, so I've been thinking a lot about, what does matter to me right now.
Mhm.
And I would go back to what I started with earlier. What matters to me is who's with me. I'm really trying to be transparent about where I am in terms of my faith journey, which is I hang on to a belief that there's a God. I've come to the point where I believe there's only one God, and that this God is not Father or Son, but Spirit. If there's a God, it's Spirit. It's some sort of this movement that presses us internally and brings us together with folks who are interested in goodness and compassion, and
Mhm.
together we work to make the world a better place. I do think there's a force in the world like that,
Mhm.
and I name that God. Some being in the sky who's like this father image, this male image. I mean, or even Jesus. I don't need Jesus to be God in the flesh. I mean, it's good enough for me that he was a good man
Mhm.
who fought the good fight and who paid a price for it. That's enough for me. And of course, that for people, that's anathema. And
Yeah.
just like Marlon, you've lost your faith, and I'm like, no, I really haven't. Sorry,
Mhm.
you want it to be that simple. That if I don't claim to believe certain things, you think I need to believe that I'm somehow outside the faith. I'm outside your faith.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean I'm outside of a faith journey. I still
Mhm.
I still try and walk through this world paying attention to what's the voices internal and others that are good. I think that's God at work. It's
Yeah.
like I wrote a post months ago and somebody just rewrote something similar. Nobody's coming to save us, was the post. There'll be no
Of course
miracles
not.
here.
Yeah. Of course not.
Right? And I got a lot of pushback on that because of the second coming of Jesus. How can you deny the second coming of Jesus? And
This is
yeah,
why it's so much easier to just not be a Christian because you can just say, because I don't believe any of that magical stuff. I'm
yeah,
not a
I
part
don't,
of
I
that.
don't, I don't. But still, I guess I'm not ready to.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying the simplicity that I found now and being like, I don't have to defend any of that. People
Yeah,
can come at me with it, and I just go like, yeah, I'm not a part of that. I'm not a part of that religion. I'm not a part of that worldview.
yeah,
There's a simplicity to it that I really am enjoying.
yeah, yeah,
I'll admit that I'm enjoying being able to live in what I see as
yeah,
reality. I've worked hard to live in reality. I've worked hard to overcome all of that like indoctrination that we all went under,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
which most of us thought we were doing for good reasons. It was just the way it was. And I, here's another challenge, and this is from Britt Hartley, is that she talks about we talk about faith as a virtue, right? And she's like, I don't think faith is a virtue. She's like, because Faith takes you out of reality.
Yeah,
Most of the time, people talk about faith, they're being like, I believe in things that I can't see or prove or anybody has ever seen. I mean, right? She thinks the worst line in the Bible is in John, where it says, you've seen, but blessed are those who haven't seen and still believed. Because she's like, it's classic manipulation, right?
yeah,
Ooh, if you haven't seen and you still believe, you're even better.
yeah,
No, you're deluded. You're believing in unrealities and fantasies. That's the truth of it.
yeah.
For me, I know people don't want to accept that. I totally get it. But this is what's happening is we've made it a virtue to do the very thing that is undermining our democracy, undermining the good of humanity in the world, which is don't trust reality. Don't believe reality.
Yeah,
Think Hebrew, people would say, right? And you'd be like, why? I'm
yeah,
not a Hebrew. The Old Testament doesn't have a better grasp on reality than me. Are you crazy? Of course it doesn't.
yeah.
Think of what they didn't know. They thought the windows of the sky opened up because above it was water. And we think these people understand how the origins of the earth were. What? Literally in the story of Noah.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the firmament separates the waters from the waters. And you could totally understand why they would think that. But guess what? There are still people who think that there's a firmament. Absolutely, there are. I just saw a TikTok about conspiracy theories that you believe as a Christian. And one of them was there's a firmament and the government knows it. And it had 76,000 likes. And it was a comment on a TikTok. And we've let people do this. We facilitated this madness.
Yeah, that's really good. I appreciate
And
that.
that's tough. That's
Yeah,
not sustainable.
yeah. I think this is the kind of conversations that I hope
I
to have.
know they're painful for people, for
Well,
some people.
for me, I've come to realize what's happening in me as I'm leaving some of these things behind that were programmed into me since I was forever.
Of course.
That it's grieving loss of something that made the world easier to
100%.
maneuver in. Made the world
100%.
easier to maneuver in it if you don't have to think about what's happening to our Earth and what that might mean. And it's easier to think, like people have
Of
said to me
course.
many times, well, none of this will get sorted out till Jesus comes back and we get a new heaven and a new earth. And
Right.
so, in other words, I'm not going to do anything because
Yeah.
Jesus is coming back, then there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. That doesn't work. That hasn't worked for me for 20 some years now because of our work with Israel Palestine and having people tell us all the time, oh, they've been fighting for millennia,
Hmm.
which is not true.
Hmm.
Not true. And nothing will get sorted out. So we don't even know why you're there, I had one woman say. Don't even know why you're there.
Hmm.
None of that'll get sorted out till Jesus comes back. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you don't want to do the work. You just want to let it
Hmm.
slide. So I appreciate it. I'm finding that there are folks who want to talk about what they believe and what they don't and their struggles. And then there are
Hmm.
others more, many, many more, who are uncomfortable with any of this and who just label us in whatever,
Yeah. But
you
those
know.
people can't help us anymore,
No, that's what I'm saying though. But this is what I mean
which is
about
hard. It's tough, but
who's
I
out
guess,
there, who's
yeah.
out there, who's with me. That's where I'm at. I'll ally with anybody who's with me on wanting this to be a better world. And all they say, oh, we all want this to be a better world. Well, the
No.
methods you're using aren't making this a better world. So how about we quit with that kind of BS because you're
But
interested
they're,
in
yeah,
a
they're
better world for
eliminationists.
you.
They're eliminationists. This is where the big problem lies for me. And this is Israeli logic, and it's now American logic. It's colonialist logic, which is like it's eliminationist. There are certain people we need to eliminate from society, and then we'll have what we want.
Yeah.
That's Israel to a T. Israel's been doing that for half a century. That's been their goal. And now we have the same goal here, supported in Israel, supported by Judaism, here supported by Christianity, that we need to get rid of certain people. We have undesirable people amongst us. And if we get rid of them, then our country will be great again. And those undesirable people are, currently immigrants, but increasingly they're liberals.
Yeah.
I mean, the true people they hate are liberals. This is why Renee Good and Alex Preddy can be gunned down on tape in broad daylight, and conservative Christians kind of like it. They're not sad to see those people dead.
Well, they had it coming.
Yeah, they had a comment, whatever. It's because they think that we can make America great by destroying and eliminating certain people from society. That's Judeo-Christian values at the moment. Eliminate the wrong people. And, the Old Testament's all about eliminating the wrong people. There's only one right people.
Yeah.
Be honest about what these texts are.
Yeah.
Jesus believed in demons. Jesus believed there was going to be, somebody was going to come back and fix it all. Like, Jesus didn't care about Gentiles by and large. It
Right.
didn't become a Gentile religion because of Jesus. And we can't face any of this stuff. We can't face that it doesn't make any sense for Jesus to be God and also believe in demons. Because none of us believe in demons. Hello, of course not.
Yeah.
So it's a legitimate problem that was part of Jesus's worldview. And you know what people will do? They'll be like, well, he didn't really believe in demons, but he couldn't communicate to them, the truth he knew about mental illnesses because he was stuck in the first century. And you're just like, you just can't say what's obviously true. That he was a man who was born into a first century Jewish family, and he believed things that first century Jews believed, like demons and like that a God was going to come soon. I mean, that's what he preached. I mean, we never talk about the fact that he was like, God's going to come and change all this soon. You better do something. Well, that was 2,000 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, even the things he taught didn't come true and still haven't come true. And we just pin everything on he knew he was going to die and be raised again or something. There's just so many problems here.
So I hear you. I'm working to figure out what are things I can hang on to. And uh, I think we're doing too much Jesus right now. I really feel that way. And I mean, I don't know how to get heard about this, but we've so um, manipulated the person of Jesus that he's irrelevant now because it's just who has the chalk last, you
Yeah.
know? Who can design the last play? I was a football coach in my earlier life, and I was a defensive coach. And I remember we'd be in a room with the offensive coaches, and they'd draw a play, and I'd say, "Yeah, and this is what we're going to do." And they, "Yeah, but this is what we're going to do." And then I'd go, "Yeah, but this is what we're going to do." And then we'd
Mhm.
all laugh and joke. Well, it just depends who has the chalk last. And that's how I feel with what's happening with Jesus right now.
Mhm.
Everybody's kind of making up their own Jesus and using scripture to support their position.
It's
It's
yeah, it's
not going to
irrelevant.
change anybody's mind by
It's
using
irrelevant.
Jesus anymore. We have to go to human experience. We have to go to other resources. We have to listen to other voices besides those who are pushing Jesus. And God help you if you're sitting there thinking Marlon doesn't love Jesus.
I
Screw.
mean, I
Why
mean, I
don't
will admit I don't love Jesus.
why
I
don't you
don't. I never have loved Jesus. The whole idea that he and I were in a relationship was
Right.
totally bonkers to me. It never came together for me. So it's like again, I'll just be like, yeah, you're right. I don't love Jesus. Like I love
Well,
real
I knew
people
you
who
were going to
exist
go
in my
there.
life. I love real people who exist in my life. That's hard enough. I
Yeah,
don't want to have to also try and love an imaginary person. No, thank you.
yeah. Well, Jesus was a historical character. He was a real person.
Yeah, but when people talk about loving Jesus, they're not talking about loving the past, like loving MLK. That's not what they mean. They mean like a real person who exists and is your buddy, or
Yeah,
is your savior, or is your whatever. And again, I'm just like, that's so weird.
yeah, yeah.
I think you can love Jesus's teachings and him as a historical figure, and that's not weird.
Well, that's what I
But
was trying
ultimate,
to say.
exactly, that's what you're saying. But I think it's that's the difference between what somebody who might criticize you is saying. You don't actually believe in that Jesus. You're not currently pursuing a relationship with him that would change your heart and transform. You've heard it all before.
Oh boy, many times. I can't even tell you how many times. And I don't have time for those people anymore. And I've
No
kind of
way.
run them out of my life because
Yes.
they, you know, so
I mean, this is a really hard thing that's happening to lots of people.
yeah.
That's a really hard thing that's happening to lots of people.
When you say things, some of the things that comes out of my mouth now, I incredibly have a visceral feeling.
Mm,
You can't say that, you know,
right,
and you can't say what you truly believe, Marlon. You can't trust others with that. And I'm just not there anymore. I'm trying to be as honest as I can be.
right.
Uh, I mean, the cruelty in what they're saying about Renee Good.
And what they're probably already saying about Alex Peretti,
It's
I haven't
crazy.
heard.
This guy was a male nurse. I've not known
Yeah,
them to be sociopathic or gun-toting Second Amendment.
it's just all lies.
It is, but these
It's
folks
just
are
all
like,
lies.
oh well, yeah. I mean, I won't stand for it anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're so far gone.
No.
We are so far gone. It's only the revolution now, and that can only come from the people because we've seen that our politicians are incapable.
Yeah. And that includes our religious leaders too.
I mean,
They
it'd be great if we could get them on board, but you saw the church that got the protest in Minnesota. All their people inside that church could only just kind of bitch and complain about how their church service got interrupted and how they came there, to get away from it all to their little
it's
white
about
safe
Jesus.
space.
It's about Jesus. The pastor said we came here because we love Jesus and we came here for
Sure.
Jesus, and it's all about Jesus. That's what I mean. And
Exactly.
stop taking Jesus' name in vain. You're a stain on his memory, to be honest.
They can't take it. They can't even handle a few people coming into their worship service chanting a few things. People are getting ripped from their homes. People are getting sent to countries they've never been to. People got sent to a torture prison in Sikhat. Few people come into a church service, and these freaking wussies can't handle it.
Yeah.
It's so ironic. They're such babies. They're such babies. They're constantly playing the victim.
Yeah, that's what
Christians are constantly playing and so Israel's always playing
yeah,
the victim. It's the
yeah.
same thing all the time. It's
Christians now.
so,
I mean that this
oh
whole
my
they're being
gosh.
persecuted. I mean, I have lots of stories about sitting with pastors, prominent leaders in our denomination, talking about how persecuted they felt.
It's a joke.